have struggled with being in survival mode for a very long time. So much so that I don't know when it started. But over the years, I have gained the consciousness to realize that I was in survival mode. And it showed up in my nervous system, in my reactions, in my actions, the way I was responding to situations, in the way that I was thinking about situations, and feelings and emotions that were going through my body, like anxiety. And over time, I've been able to slowly balance out my nervous system. I want to share some tips of what I've done over the years and what I still find myself working towards or through. And some of it could be personal, and maybe it's not just me, others, it happens to others. For example, a few things that I've done over the years is I've stopped taking on responsibilities and jobs and offers and opportunities and etc. that are high stress for no reason other than that's just how that place, situation, or team works. Because everything is contagious, in good energy, bad energy, stressful energy, it's all contagious. And a lot of us are carrying things that are not ours, and then we're sharing it with others. So not taking on extra work, not taking work that has this type of energy ingrained in it. Now, sometimes you can't do much about that, but you can start to not partake in that type of energy when you're in that space. And that looks like maybe being fired because you're not going or showing the same emotions, which is very tricky. But that's fine, because you're going to start aligning towards what is meant for you long term. Sometimes that looks like actually walking away from jobs in the middle or after, or as soon as you know that this is a type of environment it's forming or it is already ingrained. Second thing, I've stopped putting on notifications on my phone. I have silenced them, and this has been going on for more than a year or so. I noticed that my phone was dictating the way that my body was responding, and the simple message or a noise, like a notification noise, was sending my body into a fight or flight mode. So I've turned off notifications, and I've learned over the last few years is that whatever is truly an emergency, you will know, and most likely will not need your phone to know that, because you will be present where you are, and then you'll be able to actually tune into the moment and react responsibly and accordingly, as opposed to being so in sync with your phone that you've given your agency away, you're giving your emotions away, and when it's actually time to tap in to the moment, it takes you longer to tap in. And so I've seen my reaction and response time become better and improving quality. Number 3, I also have taken away a lot of apps from my phone. And this helps because there's a lot of, to the way our phones are, if they're at max capacity, it also reflects your own capacity. And so if your attention is spread with everything that's unnecessary, you're unable to focus on what's actually necessary. So along with the notifications and having useless or somewhat useful apps, that actually burns more energy. So I've taken away a lot of apps that I don't need, and the ones that I do like or would like enjoy, I negotiate with myself. And that looks like downloading them when I need them and when it's best to use them, and then deleting them when they're not necessary. Also unsubscribe from a lot of emails and updates that don't really matter to me, are not relevant to my life. and that, if anything, have caused a negative reaction, like knowing things that I shouldn't know about other people, like updates, LinkedIn updates, offers and sales, especially when they're not needed. And sometimes, for example, if there's a sale going on, sure, you might save money, but if your goal is to get out of debt, most likely their timing, your timing for that decision are not going to align. And sometimes that distraction can take you away farther from your goals. So now I work the other way around, where I am fully focused into my own life. And then if I do need like an offer, then I go and seek it. And then I'll find it. And there's plenty of ways to find those. And that doesn't involve bombarding your email. And that also goes to not checking my email pretty often, because sometimes we can get lost in too much communication and not enough action. Trust me, communication can go on and on and on and on forever, and we'll never disconnect. And we need this connection and connection to our inner self. I've also deleted a lot of contacts of people that I no longer associate with, or they're not in my daily life, and maybe I love them or I am very fond of them, but they're not in my daily life. And so it takes that pressure off of having to maybe eventually link up with the person, when that's not what's important right now. What's most important is right now where I am. And most likely, if I can't even link up with the people right in front of me, most likely I cannot be doing it with whoever's on farther away on my phone. Food and rest and staying hydrated. Those things have helped me so much. And let me repeat again: food, rest, hydration, and using a restroom when your body starts to tell you that it needs a restroom. Not at the very end when you can't hold it anymore. No. All of those things have helped me get back to a baseline where I can actually handle my nervous system, and then know and be more in tune to those subtle warnings and notifications from my own body, so that I'm not waiting till the very last minute. And so that is how I'm making my body a friend of mine. And when you have all of these things met and balanced, it's much easier than to go out into the world and then do what you have to do, whether it's work, dealing with a person, dealing with a situation. But if you have all of those out of whack, and those are being the last thing that you're meeting before anything that you're meeting, you're already entering a situation where you are in fight or flight mode, or whatever mode, that's survival mode. And so most likely you're not going to be looking at the situation in its best grounding way. And that's when you actually start to affect other people, and you also let other people affect you, because now you're just like that little slot machine, not the little slot machine, it's like a game machine where the pinball goes boom, 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 boom. So that's what happens. So meeting those things are so important. I noticed also after getting things done, I'm more clear-headed. Even when I'm well rested, I can sit through hours and have more patience doing anything or everything. Now when it comes to who I let in my circle, I have cut down immensely over the years. Keep in mind, I am an introvert, so that is better for me. So everybody's gonna be a little bit different how much they can take. But for me, I need a lot of downtime. On the flip side is that when I'm on, I'm very on. Now, with cutting down my social circle, I have really been mindful to be able to spend more time by myself, and that helps because then I know what my baseline is and what it is I bring, and then I can go share that with others. And then I also then can start to notice who's bringing what into my little personal bubble, and that personal bubble goes with us everywhere. And then things from other people get into our bubble, and then we bring it elsewhere, like home, right? Maybe we had a bad moment with a client or someone out in the world, and then their energy just kind of gets in us. It sticks the residue sticks within our bubble, and then we bring it home and everywhere else, and we actually forget to shower it away, which leads me to showering away things. Actually, often, if you are blessed to be able to shower often, doing that often, because it does take away a lot of residue, even just residue on your body. Our nervous system and our interior knows and sees it. So it's like you might not be registering at the forefront, but your subconscious is like knows that it's like been through, like that you've been through the day, you've been through it with people. So showering often, sleeping to kind of reset, taking moments to reflect, writing down what happened with the day, because that actually helps you program what happened with that day. But if you're constantly going and going and going and going, and you never have markers, and your marker should be night and day, right? Night and morning. If you don't have those markers, you're going to be in a spinning wheel, going and going and going and not changing anything. And you're wondering why your life is not changing, why things are not changing, when you can't even stop. And that's how you crash. And that's how accidents happen. That's how a lot of bad things happen. If you rewind and you stop and you breathe, which takes me to my next point. Breathing, sleeping, reflecting, stopping, disconnecting, being still. Helps you get back. Allows you to be steadfast, endure longer. Allows you to make those quantum decisions that are gonna propel you towards what you want. Because you rather have that hamster wheel go at your pace and towards where you're trying to go, and even if you were to be stuck in the same place for all of your life in that hamster wheel, at least you know it is you who had created that. Here's a bonus I just remembered, and I don't want to leave this out. Thought patterns. And I'll give you an example. Because for many years I was in survival mode and I had a lot of issues with my finances that I was working through. To this day, I'll have a moment where my body's panicking, but I listen. I no longer get mad at it. I no longer bypass the warnings. So I was gonna buy something, and I felt the very faint anxiety building. In the past, I would try to sometimes override it and just make the decision and take that thing. This time I was able to talk myself like everything's okay, it's not the end of the world. I took a step back, I looked at my week, and I said, okay, I'm gonna afford it, and I can afford it. I looked at how my month went, but for a few minutes, and I said, everything's okay. I'm gonna buy this. The world's not gonna fall apart. Because at one point it did feel like that, and it probably was like that, where maybe I would make the decision and then I would have all this, everything backfire, and then there was like a big hit on my butt. So this time it's like thought patterns changing, talking to myself much more sweetly, nicely, and then doing the logical, okay, looking back, is this make some logical sense? And then being like, okay, it is. And then saying it's okay. And so that helps to register the memory much more better years from now when I look back, as opposed to back in the day. I had the thought patterns, I let them run wild, and looking back, I can only think of what I thought and felt at the time, which who knows at this point if that was the most accurate perception of the moment. Oh, it's a little fly. I'm gonna finish this video off. It's long enough, but I hope this helps somebody working on themselves, and stay tuned for another video. I'll share more what has worked and is working for me.